Okay, let's officially get started. So this is session 1 of the weekend session. And for brand new students, I'm going to run through the course, how it's run, what to expect, the assignments, where to find the course materials. This is really the important part of the entire course. During the second, there's 3 interactive sessions for the term. During the second one, we'll talk more about assignments, and we'll go over a lot of the assignments that have been due and stuff, but I'll talk about that in a few. And then in the last interactive session, we take the final exam. And we can probably have a schedule out to tell you what time to show up for the exam and stuff like that, because you won't have to be here for all the entire time during the last interactive session, because you'll be able to take the exam and schedule your flight back or do whatever it is that you're doing in terms of your travel plans. So what you're looking at on the screen is a website. It's my own personal website. It's www.bhecker.com. I have put over there on the board over there, I don't know if you can see that, the URL that I'm talking about here. And my email address as well, the bhecker.com, bhecker this is irritating. Yeah, it stopped. Okay, good. It's weird, like the beeping happens and then it goes away. Yeah. Okie dokie. So, the bhecker@itu.edu is the best way of getting a hold of me, because I do teach at a couple of different places and I do travel around a little bit. So it's the best way of reaching me. And this website is what you're looking at right now. I have it broken out into 2 sections. However, as a weekend student, you'll be using both, because all of the course materials are in the weekday schedule. It's the same class as if you were taking the weekday schedule, but you guys are on CPT or traveling, you're not maybe local to class, or maybe you just like the weekend schedule. I personally like it as well. It's fewer days of the week you have to go. You only have to come 3 times during the year. You'll see the course. It's Object-Oriented Design in Java. It's the same course that you're taking, but if you take it on the weekend, if you click on here, you're not going to see the materials. What you're going to see are the discussion forums. I put this together to allow you an opportunity to send messages, to communicate. There's some frequently asked questions that students have been asking in the day program. One of them being a textbook for the course, which is why I put this out here. And I also wrote this on the board as well, the Deedle and Deedle, and I'll take you to a website actually in a few minutes. Actually, if I click on this website here, it'll take me to the website. If you go into the bhecker.com, click on that link in the discussion forum, you'll find this information. This is an optional textbook. And you see the Deedle and Deedle actually is I like the publishers actually. It's 2, it's husband and wife, but I can't remember. Or it's 2 brothers. There's 2 family members, both with the last name Deedle, which is where we get Deedle and Deedle. And they make C++, iPhone, Android. If you go to the bottom where it says recent textbooks, you'll see there's about 7 or 8 versions. I think here's version 8E. He's on version 8 of this book. It's been going on for like maybe 20 years. Or not maybe 20, about 15 years or so. Great textbooks, especially if you do not have a background in Java. It'll teach you everything you ever wanted to know about Java. And because there are so many different versions of it out, and Java hasn't really changed that much, and you can get the changes, you can figure out which parts have changed without too much effort. And the books are cheap. Long story short, you could probably buy one of these books for like $4 or $5 used online. In fact, you could probably buy a brand new one for $4 or $5. They're used a lot in classes. There's 7 or 8. I'm sorry? No, if you buy the brand new version of it. What I'm saying is you can get one of the older versions extremely cheap. Yeah. Did you already buy the newer one?
Well, I was required 1 year ago.
Yeah.
Bought this first book.
Yeah. The 8E or the 7. It's about $150, maybe $120. Brand new, yeah. But if you get like the 4th or the 5th edition, in fact, sometimes you can get them for free. The 4th or the 5th edition is the older editions, especially used, or if they're available, it's pretty cheap, actually. Because everybody wants the new edition. And when you take a course, they always ask for the brand new edition. That students, you should get the 8 edition. because classes, they base the assignments off of that. And also this website that the book supports, if you go on and you click through the links, you can find tutorials, example files, PowerPoints. They provide a lot of academic support. So that's why I highly recommend it. If you want the latest and greatest, go ahead, get the 8th edition. It will cost you probably about, $80 to $100, depending upon where you buy it. You don't need it. It is not required material for the course. I'm mentioning it because if you don't have a Java background, it's not a bad idea. This is not a how to program in Java course. If it were, I would be using this textbook. Instead, this is object-oriented design in Java, and my focus is going to be primarily on the object-oriented features and object orientation using Java as a language for the implementation, which is what a lot of students who learn how to do Java don't actually get. They don't get it till they start taking an object-oriented design course. And then they go, because you can teach object-oriented design in Java, C++, any object-oriented language, essentially. And what you're learning is the object orientation features, the concept of the object, inheritance, encapsulation, abstraction, in terms of those kind of object-oriented concepts. So I just mentioned this first because it's not a bad resource. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I got one already. It's okay, though. It's not a bad resource if you're brand new to Java. If you are brand new to Java, it doesn't mean you can't take this class. It just means you're going to have a little bit more work to do to kind of familiarize yourself. If this is the first object-oriented programming course you're taking, that's great. This will teach you everything there is to know about object orientation. If it's the first Java course you're taking, my recommendation is get the book, essentially. And the book will get you up to speed with what you need. Probably just the first couple of chapters are going to give you everything you need. In fact, the rest of the book is going to give you all the object-oriented stuff. So let's talk about what is needed for the course. And I'll go over the syllabus and what you've signed up for, essentially. So you're in object-oriented programming in Java. And the syllabus is downloadable from this website, as we've seen here. Let me go back to the website and show you. If you click on Spring 2011, oops, I think I want the weekday. If you go back through the weekday session, 1 second. And of course the internet's going to stop working. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Click on the link, the first one that says, don't worry about the timings of the course up there. You'll see course syllabus, course materials, class discussions. You don't have to participate in class discussions. It's up there as a means of communication. There's also email that runs through the board. You can send me an email message if you want. You don't have to actually register on the board, but you can, optionally. And if you register, it just means you can post messages. If you don't register, it's going to ask you to register every time you try to post something, but you can still access the materials. There's no problem with that. So I'm going to leave this up here and go to the syllabus and talk about that for a few minutes. Make this a little bigger so you can see it. You probably can't be able to read it, but you can always go and print out everything and take a look at everything on the website. Oh, actually, it's not too bad. It's pretty big. Okay. So what is this course really about? As I've been mentioning so far, it's about object orientation. And what we're going to look at is a lot of basic Java concepts in the process. I'm going to start out with object orientation, and then I'm going to go backwards a little bit, talk about applets, talk about the swing and GUI interfaces and stuff like that, talk about all the little nitty-gritty details. This is almost like Java 2, the second part of your Java course, if you've taken it. And looking at variables, types, expression, control, construct, that's really Java 1, actually, but looking at in terms of sockets and threads, we'll have a program that does something with that. Applets, object orientation in terms of inheritance, which is what I'm going to talk about today. So when I start the lecture part of today, I'll talk about everything from Hello World up and through inheritance today. And we'll look at an inheritance example, which brings us up to speed with the weekday class. And then what ends up happening is you guys go home and you come back in March, and then you're going to be brought up again. So while this course is going on simultaneously, there's a weekday class that's going on. And what you'll find, and this is not a bad idea to kind of point it out to you now, what you'll find in the course materials section are the assignments. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Examples that go along with the assignments. But here's the interesting part. You'll find live class session number 1. These are video recordings done on my computer of every one of the live class sessions. So, and what I'm trying to do actually is what I've done here is like the object concept, inheritance. I've tried to put like some words down there that kind of says, this week I talked about this. So just in case you missed the second interactive session, or you know someone who missed today, you can actually go through and you can see there's 3 significant lectures, 3 weeks of courses. This semester started 3 weeks ago, actually started 4 weeks ago, but week number 1 is what you got today. That I didn't record actually, but I'm recording it today so you have it. And I'll put your recording in your weekend session so you can have that. Which basically means if you want to sleep right now, you can go back and listen to me again if you wanted to. I mean, you just can't wake up to ask a question, I guess. Another thing you're going to see is a section here called tutorials. And the tutorials, if you click on it, it's going to go through a series, and this is all on YouTube, actually. And I'll click on one of them so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Tutorial 1, Tutorial 2, Tutorial 3. I've only gotten through inheritance so far. In fact, I don't actually have my inheritance up here, I don't think. I have building more than one class using a driver program. I don't have my inheritance example up here yet. But as we go through the course, I keep populating this with more tutorials. If you click on the tutorials as an example, this one is Tutorial 1, Part 1, and it'll take you to my YouTube site. And the YouTube site, let me cancel this audio here, is... let me write this URL down as well. Well, actually, there's no room left on my board. So it's BJ Hecker. So the channel has a J in there for my middle name, Jill. So it's BJ Hecker. If you wanted to go to the website directly from YouTube and not have to navigate through the bhecker.com. And why do you want this? This is going to show you everything you ever wanted to know about how to install Java. It uses a Windows platform for the video, although I'm working on a Mac. All of the tutorials are on a Windows platform. It'll show you how to execute, how to compile, how to run the Hello World program. It basically gives you supplemental information that goes along with the lectures that will give you a little bit more added help for brand new people. For people with experience in Java, it's going to be boring. It's not something you're probably going to want to waste too much time on. But for brand new people, it's going to fill in the gaps with, if you didn't take a Java course, it's going to teach you how to program in Java, essentially. And the format basically runs through the same content in the same format as the course, so it'll also help you with course assignments and things of that nature as well. So it's another resource that I put out there to help you kind of get through the course, because you guys, although I only see you like 3 times a week, 3 times a semester, you're going to be doing most of your work on your own. So when you're out there in La La Land doing whatever it is you're doing, you're probably going to be wondering, well, I don't know how to program in Java. How am I supposed to do this? Well, that's why I put this out here, so that you can go ahead and see, basically teach yourself a lot of stuff and fill in the gaps, because every one of you has a different background. You didn't all take the same Java course, and some of you didn't take a Java course before this course. So, all right, back to the syllabus. You can read through the learning outcomes. You can, if you're familiar with ITU, you were probably plagued with this thing called a CSLO essay in the past. If you're brand new to ITU, you don't have to worry about any of that anymore, because that's gone away with. We have a different assignment instead. But in the old days, the ITU CSLO essay was based upon these course, and CSLO stands for Course Learning Outcome. It was based upon these outcome points, and it was kind of a nightmare for most students because it was like a writing assignment that you had to do for a technical class, which didn't make very much sense, and then, I won't get into that. Anyway, so. All right, and I'll talk about the assignments in a few minutes anyway, so you know what's expected. There's no required textbook. although, as I mentioned already, that Deedle and Deedle text is not required. However, it's recommended if you don't have a programming background. But very detailed tutorials, lecture notes, and I'll show you where those are as well. Kind of supplement. It's plenty of information for you. You're not probably going to need a textbook. This is the information most students are concerned with, especially on day one of any course, is how we're going to be graded, what's going on. As you've seen so far, I've given you the bhacker.com website, given you the YouTube website URL. There's no way of submitting any assignments to those websites. It's supplemental, and I put that stuff up there to help you through the course. We have another system called the EMS, Education Management System, from ITU. Some of you might have logins, some of you might not have logins yet. If you don't have a login, don't worry. If you do have a login, don't worry either, because there's nothing out there. We're slowly populating it. It's not quite ready yet, which means even if you wanted to turn stuff in, you couldn't turn stuff in. Which is why I kind of make the deadline for everything in the last day of the term. Because you guys are kind of roaming around for another month and a half until I see you again, and then you're roaming around until I see you at the final exam, which means you're sort of working on your own schedule, which means you may not necessarily want to meet a deadline. In fact, some people haven't joined the class yet. Some people haven't even gotten enrolled yet. Some people have been enrolled for the last 4 weeks. And so there's a little bit of fluctuation, which means all assignments, everything will be due at the very last day of the course. So when we're all done, everybody finishes at the same time, although you might start at different times. You might work at different paces. And so there aren't any due dates except for the very last day of the course. What are you going to have? You're going to have a final exam that's worth 25% of your grade. It's an in-class final exam that you'll come here to take during the last weekend that's scheduled. So we have 3 weekends scheduled. During the last one, and we'll send an email message out to you ahead of time so you know which weekend that's going to be. You'll come to the ITU campus and you'll take a final exam. And it'll be written, and it will not be a programming exam. Although I do like to put programming source code examples and have you tell me something. Like, how many constructors are in this class? Or, what is the name of the method that's doing this? And it's basically to find out if you know the terminology, if you know the material, but you don't have to write source code for this exam. And it might be fill in the blank, it might be multiple choice, it might be looking at this example, tell me what error happens when you compile it, stuff like that. So it's not that you don't have to know any source code. I'm just not going to ask you to regurgitate, to write, because a lot of people can't actually write on the spot like that. It's kind of like out of context unless you're at your computer, unless you're looking at something. You don't necessarily, I don't want you to memorize how to write source code, is the point. But, after a while you're going to get a hang of it, hopefully, and you're going to be able to spot issues, hopefully, see things, hopefully, at least identify different parts of a program. But that's what the final exam is going to be about. It'll take you about an hour, hour and a half. We'll have a schedule out the weekend or the week before, a couple weeks before. We'll try to do it way far in advance so that you can schedule your time. Because if we actually do have the proper 100 or so students that are supposed to be enrolled in this course, they're all going to show up for the final because you can't make it up. You can't take it remotely, which means you're going to have to show up for that weekend. But you'll only have to show up for one day, a Saturday or a Sunday, depending upon how we divide the group out into different sections, because you can't all take it at one time. All right, so we also have a midterm part of this course, and the midterm is going to be a take-home exam. And the midterm is going to happen during the second, and I'll talk about it during the second session. So this is the second in between. And you'll have an opportunity to ask questions about it. And, basically you'll take it home with you. It'll be announced. It'll be given to you during the second session. If you miss the second session, it'll be available online to the bhacker.com website. You just won't get, me telling you how to do everything on it. So that's basically your incentive for showing up for the second one, is that you'll get all the information you need for the midterm, which is 25% of your grade. So you want that, essentially. And again, it will be a take-home exercise. So the other 25% is this thing called a CSLO essay. In the past, that was the essay. That was a writing exercise that students had to do. Now it's going to be a practical hands-on exercise, which means I'm going to have you write a program, essentially. It's going to be some sort of a programming assignment that's going to have you demonstrate some points that are not covered in the final or maybe not covered in the midterm. And I'll have more information regarding that before we get to the second, or it might be at the second session. At the time, that'll go along with the midterm. So really 50% of your grade is the take-home midterm and the CSLO, which is kind of another programming exercise. Not a huge exercise, but it'll be a little bit more significant than some of the assignments. And I'll talk about assignment number 1 today, so you'll get a feel for the significance of that. They're really not that hard. And the assignments are the last part, the homework. So there's 5 homework assignments worth 5 points each. So don't stress if you look at the homework assignments and go, oh my God, these are hard. Each one of them is only worth 5 points. It's only 25% of your grade. You could actually probably come out with a pretty decent grade without worrying about the homework assignments. And the homework assignments actually aren't too bad. They go through, well, the first one has you build a class, obviously. The second one's going to have you build some inheritance. Third one's going to work with an interface concept. Fourth one, I believe, is a GUI, works with swing. Fifth one, I think, if I remember, this is just off the top of my head, and it's going to work with I/O or something, reading and writing from a file or something of that nature. And then all of them are going to have some significance to it in terms of a unique concept. So it's really only 5 programming assignments. Not that bad, seriously, when you start looking at the numbers. So, are there questions about the grading? This is the most important part, I think, that most students try to get on the first day of class. Okay, so in here it says a week before the final exam. You're going to get more than a week notice in terms of what the schedule is going to be like for the final exam. So it'll hopefully be something that it'll be, you'll have plenty of notice to book a flight for. And the other thing as well is I've got like 4 different classes going on. If the weekend schedule doesn't work for this one for you personally, you can take it during another class, another weekend. I can kind of customize when you take the final exam. If you're a local student, you can actually take it during the week, during the time slots that are allocated for the other students for the weekday schedule. So don't stress about, because it is mandatory that you show up for it. Don't stress about, what if I'm busy that weekend, and then I won't be able to get a grade for the course. Which you won't be able to get a grade for the course unless you take the final exam. It's one of those attendance requirements kind of thing that we have to impose. But don't worry about it. I can make arrangements for you to take it whenever you are available, essentially. So, academic dishonesty is another thing that we're actually kind of cracking down on this term in terms of making sure that we have all of our ducks in order for accreditation. We can't have students copying assignments all over. The good thing about this course is this is the first time I've taught it here, which means there's no recycled assignments, and all of the assignments are brand new, and there's no opportunity to cheat, essentially. In fact, all the assignments are very unique. You're not going to find answers of them. They don't come out of the textbook either. So you're not going to find answers on the internet or anything like that either, which is great, because you won't have any opportunities, essentially. So if you are the cheating type, you're not going to like this course. So. But yeah, academic dishonesty, the policy being you don't want to take it from the internet, you don't want to consult with other students. There's no group work required for this course. It's individual effort 100%. If you do work together with another student, you have to make sure you turn in your own unique assignment. You guys can't all work together and turn in the same assignment. I have had students try to do that in the past. Oh yeah, I worked together. Well, all of us did. Like all 20 of you worked together and you all turned in the same assignment. And now everyone, and plus, it's not really a problem with you guys because you're coming from different areas. Some of you traveling here, you're not going to get together with 20 different ITU students and work on the same assignment together, hopefully. Well, if you do, make sure you turn in your own work. That's the point I'm trying to make. The grading formula is pretty straightforward. I do give out pluses and minuses. There's absolutely nothing above an A. You can't get an A plus in this course. It doesn't really matter. It's a 4.0. It's an A. I have had students say, oh, I wanted an A plus. You can't get an A plus. It doesn't mean anything at this school. There's nothing above 4.0. So don't ask me for an A plus. You're not going to get one. So. All right, so this is the schedule. Now, the schedule, come on in, is for the weekday. I didn't break it out, but what you can actually kind of do is see how far we've gotten during the week, and that's what you're going to get on the weekend. So as I mentioned earlier, I teach the course on the weekday schedule. So we have lecture 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have the weekend session, and the weekend sessions are kind of divided out evenly throughout the course. So I'll cover everything I have covered so far on the weekday schedule up until last week. And then the next one is going to be from that point up until that one stops. So you can kind of see here the way the schedule's going. And we actually covered through lecture 4, extending classes and inheritance. So this is as far as I'm going to get, and it kind of covers the content for assignment number 1. So here's how the schedule looks. There's no due dates on here. However, where it says the assignments column, and it says week 1, 2, 3, 4, actually when you get done with this one here, lecture 3, you should be able to do assignment 1. It says assignment 1 due, it means you should start working on it. In fact, that's like if you were going to evenly pace yourself out through the course. Which means after today's session, after you leave, sometime between now and the next interactive session, do assignment number 1. In fact, you can probably do assignment number 2 because we're going to get through lecture 4. You don't need interface design for assignment number 2. You can actually do both. And I'll talk about both, but I'll do it later on in the day. If I talk about it right now, you're never going to remember any of it by the time I get to it, or by the time it's actually relevant. So what we're looking at is these 2 assignments here before next session. But again, there's no due dates, which means if you basically do them, you'll have to hold on to them because and I'll show you the ITU EMS in a few minutes. You may or may not be able to upload them. So just because you just can't turn them in doesn't necessarily mean you can't do them. That's what I'm saying. And then the next interactive session we'll be looking at assignment number 3 in the midterm exam, and I'll talk about the midterm exam during the next interactive session, which means we'll take from lecture 5, 6, 7-ish, 8-ish, and then obviously we've got the rest of the a couple weeks left here for which we'll look at the kind of some unique features of Java. Actually, most of the object-oriented design stuff will be done after the midterm. And then we'll start looking at network programming, garbage collection, some kind of finer tunes of Java programming in general. And these assignments follow along with the content that's issued. And then the CSLO essay, which is kind of the take-home Java program that you'll write, is not due until the day of the final exam at the end. So that's like about 50% of the grade, actually, towards the end of the course, with another 25% right in the middle. And then we have these 5 assignments. The assignments are actually not difficult. They're designed to give you some practice with it because it's really hard to learn the material by listening to me or by reading a PowerPoint slide. So it's easier to actually kind of implement something and to look at it. And plus, they're kind of fun, I think, as well. So, are there any questions about the syllabus? Neat. The very last day, in fact, I'm going to have the TAs set the deadline, the due date in the ITU EMS a week after the class ends. Because there's a couple of issues, and maybe I'll just tell you about them right now. Not a bad segue. So let's take a look at this ITU EMS for the brand new people. If you type in ems.itu.edu, takes you to a login. If you don't have a login, don't panic. Just send an email message to the registration folks. They'll give you a login. You should have gotten one, actually. You probably should have gotten an email message when you registered. And it's your email address. So I'm going to type in as me, actually. So your view is going to look slightly different than mine. Mine's going to have a bunch of editing stuff that's going to show up. But it kind of gets you this kind of interface. If you click on My Portfolio on the right-hand side, it'll take you to a list of your courses. So you can click on Courses. This is not a whole tutorial on the EMS. I'm just kind of showing you for curiosity's sakes. Some of you who have never heard of this system. So those people who have heard of the system know probably that it's under construction right now. and that they're basically building new features on it and making it more user-friendly. If you scroll through the class list, and obviously it's not going to show up, so let me make this a little bit bigger for me. You'll see the course here. There's one caveat to kind of make sure. You guys are in the -2 section of this course. So when you find it in the list, you might see, is it on the bottom? Did I pass it already? Object-oriented design in Java is what I'm looking for. And let's see. Of course, maybe the class isn't on the list. No, I think the class should be on the list already. Alright, let's try something else. You can search by, let's see, this is spring 2011. If you want more help with the EMS, actually, you can kind of catch me at one of the breaks, and I can actually walk you through this as well. Show you how to get to everything. If you go into the EMS, here we go, object-oriented design in Java, but this is the wrong course. This is the regular one. If you see on the slide here, towards here, I'll move it towards the top of the screen so some of you can see it. That's the weekday course. The one that you want is going to have a -2 next to it. You'd think it would be right in the same area. Object-oriented design in Java. For those of you who, some of you who just walked in late, make sure to put your name on the roster that's going around. We are taking attendance. You know what? I don't see it. I don't see our class, which is definitely something I should bring to their attention. So it's possible that the class is not built yet. So I'm going to click on the weekday session. Yours is going to have a -2 next to it, and it's not showing up in my list. If you go in, you'll see it's a slightly different interface. It's broken out by week, and you'll see Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, and you'll see video recorded lectures, links in Lecture 1. That's this video recording. And sometimes the sound quality is not so good. Sometimes there's a little echo. Sometimes, and this is projecting on here, so if that image isn't clear, the video's not clear. That's why I'm doing it as well on the computer so that you can actually get a clearer, hopefully a clearer video, and there's no interference with the quality of what you're seeing on the screen as well. So if you go into the bayhacker.com, you can see what I'm doing right now on this computer, actually, which is good. You'll see we have here's assignment number 1, so you can actually click and get the assignments. If there's an inconsistency between what appears here and what appears on bhacker.com, use bhacker.com. That one's controlled by me. It's up to date. This is under construction. And the reason why I say it's under construction is because there's a few features that need to be implemented that aren't implemented yet. And there's a few restrictions. So let me just, actually, you can probably just take some notes on this right now because you can't really update, because you can't turn anything in yet. But when you click on assignment number 1, on the bottom, you'll see a little thing that says upload, where you can upload a file. Restriction number 1, it only takes 1 file. If you put your assignment, if you're creating Java files, everyone knows you have more than 1 file. If you upload it, you upload the first file, you're stuck. You can't upload anything else. So I recommend using like a pkzip or RAR or tar, something to compress all your files together. You can only upload 1 thing, and you can only do it once. So if you've made a mistake, this is when you get the TA's information, and you or you send an email message to the TA saying, I uploaded the assignment, but it's the wrong one. It's the wrong file. They have to manually take it down, and so that you can upload it again. Here's that was problem number 2. Problem number 3 is that the due dates don't allow you to turn anything in late. So if I set due dates in this system, and let's say I set it for today, and you're running an hour late, and I say, okay, no problem, you can turn it in an hour late, don't worry about it. You still can't turn it in. because the due date is going to lock you out of the system. It won't allow you to upload the assignment. So these are kind of some of the things we're fixing in the system. But in the meantime, we have a lot of other stuff going on. And if you haven't noticed or if you haven't heard about it yet, we're moving campuses as well. So the next time I see you is going to be at a different location. It's going to be in San Jose. It's not going to be here. So with all the changes and everything going on, that's why I set the due dates for everything at the very end of the class. But I highly recommend starting to work on this stuff earlier. And then save things up. And then when you do save things up, just put them in a zip file just in case some of those things aren't fixed yet. We can, and plus, you want to make sure everything's working properly by the time that you do want to upload stuff, just to make sure things work correctly. And obviously, if there's a problem with the system or something, we don't hold it against you personally. So I will definitely make an exception and, not deduct you from, not deduct your grade for a problem with technology in the system. So, if you go through, you also see that we have we have all of the examples and things that are from the BHEC are supposed to be populated out into the ITU course. So some of it might be missing, some of it might be there. In the future, this will be the primary source of everything that you'll need. So, are there questions about the EMS? And I know the students who are going to have the questions are the ones who don't have access to it yet. And they're going to be asking about access. Unfortunately, you're going to have to wait until during the week, I believe, in order to contact anybody. I don't think they're going to be able to get those problems solved today because the administration only, I think, works Monday through Friday. I'm not quite sure. So, all right, on that note, I'm going to exit out of this EMS system. And any questions on the syllabus before we start the lecture portion? In fact, I'll take maybe a 10-minute break before the lecture part because I know a lot of people just walked in late and stuff like that. If you did walk in late, the most important thing that you missed so far is that URL on the board there, the bhecker.com. So type that in, write that down, and then the reference for the textbook. So what we're going to do is normally when I lecture during the Monday through Friday schedule, I go constantly. I can't do that for 8 hours today. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and I'm going to go through lecture 1. And then I'm going to go through some source code examples. Then we're going to take a break. And then we're going to come back. Maybe breaks will be about 10, 15 minutes or so. Give you the time to walk around, warm up because it's freezing in this room. And then I'll go through lecture 2. And then I'll go through some source code examples and stuff like that. And then we'll take another break. And then we'll have lunch. We'll come back. I'll talk about the assignments. I think I'll wait until after lunch to talk about the assignment. We'll go through another lecture. And then we'll go home. Which is, kind of breaking it up a little bit, having some breaks in between. So if you're feeling because if you're familiar with me during the week, I go constantly. And you have to leave and come back. Hopefully this time you'll be able to pace yourself a little bit better and stay, and then we'll take a break together, we'll leave, we'll come back. So this will be our first break. So I think maybe, 10 minutes or something for this first one, and then we'll have a longer one after the next because we'll go to lunch or something like that after the next one. So about an hour and a half-ish. If you do have a cell phone or something and it goes off, you need to go answer it, it's best to leave the room, come back. You have to go to the bathroom, obviously leave the room, come back. All right, so break number 1, we'll come back at 10:10. So enjoy your break. Maybe there's some coffee. You can get some coffee.